Alright, hello everyone. Welcome once again to Omens. This is episode 4, I believe. Yeah, 4. Okay. And we're going to be talking about the Two of Wands today. So, hi, I'm Ryan. I'm your host for Omens. I'm an intuitive tarot reader, a polytheistic pagan, and a practicing witch, amongst other things. Like I said, today we'll be talking about the Two Wands. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. We'll get to whatever else later on. So for this card, I was looking at all my decks and I realized I don't have one that's got anything similar to the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck image. So, but luckily I have an app on my phone that has the RWS images, so I'm gonna use that. So, I'll at least show you what it looks like because it'll come up on a few others, so I'll keep it up. That's the traditional RWS image of the Waite-Smith, Pamela Coleman Smith's interpretation of whatever the hell it was Arthur Waite told her. We have a man standing on a tower overlooking a sea, a long ocean with mountains nearby. He's got the globe of the world in one hand, couple of wands. One's bolted into the wall here, you can see, and then this other one, can't quite see too well. It's actually bolted into the wall, too. Like it's posted down into it, like there's, like, you know, when you put a post down into the ground and whatnot, it's kind of like that. So that's the traditional image, and whatnot. So, just diving right in. The traditional meaning has to do with the way I've always heard it, and I didn't think about all of it, is the way I've always heard it is, well, let me show you. This is basically the image I started with when I first started reading tarot. It was blurry. It's the Gilded Tarot. And basically you got a man who's coming up and he's got two paths. His path is diverged in front of him. So he's got a couple different ways he could go. On this path, there's a mountain that just looks very rocky, kind of troublesome. It's got birds representing freedom, flight, and whatnot. And this other side goes down kind of into the valley where there's a lush green forest. A couple of deer standing on both sides, so it's like one's kind of easy road, one's a harder road, but they'll both it's a couple of different ways you can go with that idea. So that's kind of how I've always been taught the original meaning, is that it's, you started, now it's time to pick which direction you want to go. And that's kind of the way a lot of people see it, is it's kind of like you've established a new venture. You're just starting out a new venture. You've established something. When that kitchen table tarot that I was reading put it as a deliberation. This dude he's standing on the side of the tower, and he's standing on the edge of a tower, so you can tell he's well established where he's at. He's the lord of whatever else. He's the lord of his kingdom or whatever, but he's not happy. He's looking forward and he wants to go, and as she pointed out, she's like, you can't carry that heavy globe for very long. So this is a very fast-moving card, fast-paced and deliberate. So she put the meaning as kind of deliberation, looking before you leap. You're not satisfied with all that you have. You want something more, something new. It's that second part of it's the next card. It's card right after the Ace of Wands. That Ace of Wands is that seed and spark that here's your here's that that initial push to get you going, and the 2 of Wands is like, okay, I've got the push, I know what I want to do. I kind of got the inkling of an idea, but where do I want to take it? I just have the idea, and I'm establishing myself, but I'm not quite sure yet where I want to take it. So that's where we come up with that. And then, of course, so the next part of this card, that's the traditional meaning of the card. So the next part of this card we're going to dive into is the numbers, the numerology. So it's the number 2. Oh, and something I'm doing different this cast is I'm actually showing a different card for all of these different sections instead of waiting to the end to bring out the cards and show them. I decided to try. Probably should have mentioned that earlier. So anyway, this one's from my Mermaid Tarot, and it's for the. I'm using it for the 2 because I think it just gives quite kind of that vibe. Because the 2 is our first spiritual or feeling number. It represents the duality of humans, just honestly, duality of nature in general. I mean, your light and your dark, your night and day, hot, cold, good, bad. You really can't define one without the other. So nature is inherently dualistic. So that is where our 2 comes in. It's inherent. It's the representation of duality. It's also our first spiritual or feeling number, which that's it. I told her know the stuff. I told her to research all beforehand, like 2 hours ago. Yeah, that's stuff like nope. Oh, anyway, I'll find it later, or I won't. I should really be better prepared than this, but you know what, close enough. So, I mean, we all kind of know what spiritual feeling kind of means, and it's like that first steps outside of the physical. We're not quite in the mental plane where our brain's taking over it, because there are 3 different levels in Pythagorean numerology for the different types of numbers. We've already talked about 1, which is the first physical number. So you start with your basic, your physical. That's your first layer, your first level, pretty much. Your second level is your spiritual, your feeling, emotional, all that stuff. It's where we're getting above the physical, but we haven't quite hit the mental. And now, granted, most people put spiritual above mental, but that's not how it works in this specific numerology I've got. So it goes physical, then spiritual / feeling, and into mental / I forget what it is. Basically, we haven't quite hit that logical thinking type deal. And this is Pythagorean numerology, so you know Greeks, of course, they put mental above spiritual. Now that I think about it. But also, that's just the way the layout is done, really. So the 2 is the duality, the spiritual number. It symbolizes the gateway to our sensitivities, as well as our need to be part of, well, it describes it as being part of a pair, but that's kind of monogamous. I'm not really a fan of monogamy because just, I mean, I am and I am. I'm and I'm not. If it works for you, it works for you. Me, I tend to want to be very much by myself. And then, of course, there are a lot of people, and I describe more of this, who are polyamorous. So it's like, humans have an instinctual need to be part of more than just themselves. Whether that be part of a pair, part of a family, part of a community, part of any sort of community. Community kind of covers all your bases. So it's like humans have that need to be more than just themselves, to interact with more than just themselves. So the 2 represents that, the duality, that I'm fire, you're water, they're air, Z's earth. Together we kind of bounce off of each other, and help each other grow. We balance each other out. 2 is a number of balance, of harmony, of taking these odd aspects and bringing them kind of, and just because they're so separate, bringing them back together. Now, if you really think about that, that 2 scale needs a fulcrum, so a third middle point. But we're not getting into 3s right now. But that also kind of ties into my seeing it as you can't really just do a pair. You need something to center around, whether that be something between the two people that they have something in common to which this make that fulcrum, and then they can use that to help balance them out, or a whole nother person or a few other people to help balance that out. But yeah, so it's a representation of duality. It's also the number of intuition, which as we can see in here, she's in the water. She is the mermaids. Mermaids represent a lot of our intuition, our feeling, our emotional body, and whatnot, and they speak to that very strongly. They speak to that spirituality, that aura, whatever. So she's in her intuition here. She's well established. She knows. She's kind of yearning here. The globe in her hand. She's yearning for a little bit more. But she's a mermaid. She can't necessarily leave the water, but you know, she can go beyond her own waters. So it's that intuition to, and she's got, you can just kind of see it in her face. She's got all this potential ahead of her. She's got to decide where to go, and the best way to decide that is with her intuition. Alright, so there's that. Let's go next part of this. Obviously this this card's element is obviously fire. Got the 2 of fire here with kitties, and again with this one, I like this card from Mystical Cats because it's actually got a spread, because it's like the cat doesn't know whether he wants to stay in or wants to go out. So again, it's that having to choose your path. You've got a home, but there's a whole wide world out there to explore, but you're like, yeah, I could go or I could stay. I'm sitting in the doorway trying to decide. And what I like about this one is there's a spread where basically I pull this card out, set it at top, and then it's a 2 pathway spread, basically. It's a 2 path spread of where, what if I do this, and what if I do this? What if I stay in, what if I go out? So, and then of course you got the candles burning at home, and then outside, you can set, I don't know if you can see it here, come on camera, don't do that to me. You can kind of see a little bit, maybe, I don't know, so you see how this one's got a circle light, you can kind of see the circle lights on either side of the kitty, outside as well. So, and then the inside and the outside reflect each other. You got tile here, tile there. We can't quite see what the inside looks like, but then the outside we've got kind of a misty morning forest. It's like it's early morning. He's got to make a decision, and he's got the fire and drive to go for it. He's got to figure it out for himself. So that's the element. Now I get to decide whether I want to go into Kabbalah or astrology. Let's go with Kabbalah. So, the Kabbalah is, the 2s are associated with the Sephiroth of Chakma, which means wisdom. And since the 2 of fire is a card, or the 2 of wands is a card of balance here, wow, this is a bad card to pick for this. You really can't see this, so I'll have to describe it. Kabbalah describes this as a card of balance. Chakma means wisdom, and the two wands refers to the relationship, the wisdom of establishing a balanced relationship between our spiritual and earthly natures. Okay, I did not write that out correctly. It refers to the wisdom of establishing a balanced relationship between our spiritual and earthly natures. So here, you really can't see it. That's my bad. Archeon, very dark. I forgot about that. So she's got two wands that are lit up. She's in a dark forest. On this side, the pathway is kind of lightened. That's what's known. On this side, it's all pure black, but she's looking towards the dark. So she has to. Now, if we want to look at this in the balance of earthly and spiritual natures, we could call that which is known the lighted up forest. That could be our earthly natures, because we're earthly creatures. We know the earth, the mundane, all that really well. It's what is known. We have science to explain like majority of stuff that is earthly. We know it. The spiritual realm, however, is dark, unknown. Everything there is unverified personal gnosis. There is some commonalities, threads. People have done enough walking in the same places to go, hey, this, and this are the same, and yeah, there's a little discrepancy here and here, but for the most part, we can all agree that it looks like this or whatever, what have you. So that's the unknown. So the balance she's having represent is, the balance she's having to figure out, and both ways are lighted for her. She can explore both ways, and that's kind of what Chakma encourages us to. It suggests encompassing the full range of existence. It's that these two different sides, this duality, they're contradictory and complementary at the same time, and Chakma encourages exploring both of us, exploring all of it, which is why it is also the Sephiroth of Chakma is also associated with all the zodiac signs. It implies a balanced fullness, so she has that ability to go everywhere, to explore all of it. She's got to make a decision as to which one she's going to first, and that will inform her experience of the other one later. But either way, the push is to experience all of it. We have options. We can explore and experience. We can explore all of them, and we have the ability to experience, if not all, at least most of them. I mean, some things, sometimes you make a decision and you're not going to be able to come back to that other path. I mean, like, was it that Robert Frost poem that describes a path in the woods diverged, and I took the one less traveled by? Yeah, you can do that. By experiencing that one less traveled by path, you experience all of that, and then, now, when it comes to a path in the forest, what you can do is, you can either walk back and go up another path, or you can go up this one path this one day, and then the other one the next day, so you get to experience both of them. But it's never going to be quite the same. It's like you see this path after you've seen this one, and that your experience of seeing this path informs this one. So like a path less traveled by, it's going to be wilder, it's going to be messier, it's going to be a lot quieter, more nature. So then when you go on the more well-traveled path, that's going to kind of inform your experience and feel like, oh, I experienced these woods as really quiet and a little overgrown and wild, and now I'm basically from basing it off that path, I now see this one as very cultivated and very rigid, louder, all kinds of people. Everything's manicured and whatnot. However, if he'd done the opposite and he'd taken the more well-traveled path before going on that less well-traveled path, he'd have been like, this is nice, this is kind of peaceful, a little bit of people, whatever, and that would have informed him his experience of the other path, which would have then been This is so much quieter and wilder and just maybe even a little scarier, because it's like your first experience of those woods was a lot more people, a little more cultured or whatever. And so, where was I even going with that? Oh, it's my train of thought. I forget where I was going with that. So basically, that. Oh, okay, I remember. So either way, he's experienced the entirety of that woods. Well, the entirety of the woods within the two paths, I should say, not the entirety of the woods. So he's experienced that entirety in that little world from two different paths, the spiritual and the physical. And by seeing both of those, you get more of a fullness of experience as to what both of them are, but one is always going to inform the other. You can't, if you completely neglect one, you're missing out like half the experience. It's just the way it is, and that's why they, what I've heard before is the best way to increase your intuitive and your psychic abilities is to make sure you are very, very well grounded in your body, because your body is your seat of your intuition. I mean, we talk about it, my gut told me not to do that. I got this weird feeling in my gut. And then, of course, my intuition told me not to do this. I got this weird feeling from my intuition. We're talking about the same thing. Your intuition's in your gut. Can't see my fingers. Your intuition is a combination of your spirit and your instinct. Now, granted, not completely your instinct, because your instinct is very fear-based. It's very survival-based. So, you can't see where I'm going. There's always dualities to everything. And it's like, your instinct needs your logic. Your intuition needs your body. And all four of them need each other to coexist to the best of their ability. But anyway, moving on, because we're sitting here 22 minutes and I've been rambling, which technically I'm supposed to do on this podcast, so anyway. The Kabbalistic angel, the Two of Wands, is... I am actually not sure how to pronounce his name. How to pronounce their name. So it's spelled Jeliel, and the pronunciation it gave me was E-L-E-L, so like L-L. And I'm like, then why is there an I? So I'm going to go with Eliel, just because that kind of sounds a little bit more accurate. So Eliel is, whose name means the helping God. They are the second angel of the Kabbalah, which is interesting. Two of Wands, second Kabbalistic angel. It's a lot of duality right there. It's double twos. And they're the helping God. So when this card comes up, it means love and wisdom. So again, we have that connection with Chakma, wisdom. And then, of course, God is love, or what have you. Eliel is a seraphim. Their psalm, for those who do psalmistic magic, is Psalm 21:19. They are the soul guardian for those born from 12:20 a.m. to 12:40 a.m. They are the moral guardian for those born on March 21st, April 1st, August 12th, October 23rd, and January 3rd. October 23rd and January 3rd. They are the physical guardian for those born from March 25th to 29th. And then, of course, those born under the influence of Eliel have a cheerful spirit and agreeable and kind manners. They are also passionate in sex. Okay. Eliel will help calm popular sedition. I probably should have looked that word up. Give me 5 seconds. It will also, well, while I'm looking that up, it will also help you obtain a victory over those who would attack you unjustly. So basically, if somebody's just kind of like attacking you for no reason, like you didn't do anything against them, then you can call upon Eliel to kind of protect you, like, hey, this person's just like coming at me and I was just minding my own business. It's like if it is an unjust attack, Eliel will help protect you against them. Eliel will also help calm sedition, is how it's pronounced. Sedition is a noun, conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against the authority of a state or monarch. So, if you're a rebel, don't call on them. Because they're probably going to work against you. Because if you're trying to rebel, you're going to want to find a different angel, basically. And I almost kind of half wish I hadn't read that, because if anyone... Well, I don't know, I could see how that would be helpful for if, like, there's... I don't know, rioting in the business or whatnot, but usually when people cause riots and rebellions, it's for a just reason, so I don't quite ascribe to that. I can think of a few I'd like to use it against, but, you know, politics. I'm sure we all have that right now. Anyway, for the most part, their main duty is giving victory, is helping to obtain victory over those who would attack you unjustly. So that's Eliel. I'm a bad sounding angel. Okay. Alright, I'm glad I used the Kabbalah first, because that was slightly easier. Astrology is a bit interesting. So I hadn't realized this when I was looking at the Ace of Wands last month. And I was going through the astrology here, and I'd realized it was a bit odd. So what I mean by that is I've got two things I look at when I'm looking at the astrology of the tarot. Why do I have that out there? That's why. Okay, I messed up. Anyway, I've got two things I look at. So first off, I use my celestial tarot, you've all seen. The other thing I use when looking at the astrology is this book I have called Tarot and Astrology, Enhance Your Readings with the Wisdom of the Zodiac by Corian Kenner. It's actually a pretty good book. I should probably actually read it instead of just throwing stuff out. But anyway, so what I noticed is, so what my celestial tarot does is it has, well, just for example, it has the Ace of Wands as being the constellation of Cassiopeia, correct? Well, in the Tarot and Astrology, which is based off the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn information, the Ace of Wands is the element of fire. That's also what it is in my alchemy book that I have. It's representing the element of fire. Celestial Tarot has the Ten of Wands as the element of fire. And it's the same thing with the other suits and elements, like swords, air, where the Golden Dawn Order would put that as the Ace of Swords. The Celestial Tarot puts that as the Ten of Swords type deal. So I thought it was a little odd at first, but then I got to looking at, I noticed something I hadn't seen before, and that is the chart in the LWD, the Little White Book for the Celestial Tarot. And what it has is, it gives you the information for basically each of the cards, each of the minor arcana. It's our astrological or harmonic mode. It's astrological, harmonic, or astrological mode. The constellation, the deacon, and the ruler of the deacon. Or deacon. I think it's deacon. Pretty sure it's deacon. No, wait, that's deacon. That's something else. Deacon is someone else. That's a church thing. So, what that leaves us with is a different ruler of the decan in each of these two. So, for example, in Celestial Tarot, for the Two of Wands, it's in the second decan of, or decante, second decante of Aries, and is ruled by the Sun. However, based on this tarot and astrology book, based off the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, correct? Yeah, Golden Dawn. Or is that just tarot deck we're using? I think that might just be the tarot deck we're using, the Golden Dawn tarot. I don't know. I probably should actually read this book. Anyway, that's sad because so many people have this book. So anyway, in the tarot and astrology, it places the Ace of Wands as the ruler, as the element of fire, and the Two of Wands is in the first decan. I think it's deacon. I cannot remember. Now I'm gonna make a mess of that this whole time. I'm just gonna call it deacon, alright? I'm probably wrong, but I'm just call it deacon because otherwise I'm gonna drive myself nuts. So it's in the first decan of Aries and is ruled by Mars. So that's fun. However, it does not have the astrological or harmonic or astrological mode, which, according to the Celestial Tarot, for the Two of Wands, it's in opposition. Now, if we wanted to mess with that as this and move it down and switch the ace and the 10, well, not switch the ace and the 10, switch the ace down under the 10, basically move everything up, that would make the Two of Wands actually a conjunction as opposed to an opposition. So a conjunction is when the planets in the sky are basically right next to each other from our view on Earth. Opposition is when they're directly across from each other. And a conjunction is when they are in harmony, they're helping each other, they're balancing everything out, they're working together. They are a team. They're just everything's flying by smooth. And when they're in opposition, well, opponents. They are not liking each other. They are fighting hard. So, I almost stick with opposition for this, and you'll see why with the rest of this. So, first off, I'm going to start with the constellation, just because I can. So, the constellation is Cetus, or Satis. It's Greek. I don't know Greek. And I'm going to go Satis. Cetus or Satis? Oh, I'm going to go Cetus. Okay. So, Cetus was the sea monster sent by Poseidon to terrorize Ethiopia when King Cephas's wife, Cassiopeia, Ace of Wands, we saw this last month. Go back and look at that video if you haven't seen it yet. It was interesting. And I did not remember the entirety of the myth, but now I do. Which is cool, because it's continuing on this week, or this month, whatever. So basically, Cassiopeia decided she was the most beautiful thing for the earth to be blessed with, basically. Well, not quite. She didn't go quite so far as to say she was more beautiful than Aphrodite, because I have a feeling that would have gotten her in a lot more trouble. So she wasn't quite that stupid, but there's debate about that, because basically she claimed she was more beautiful than all of the Nereids, which are basically the nymphs of the ocean or the sea or whatever, who also happen to be Poseidon's daughters. Poseidon is not quite as bad as Zeus was in those days, but he was still... the Greek gods had a thing about hubris and pride. They did not like it whatsoever, even though they were full of it. Kind of a bit strange. Anyway, they did not like it, especially not from humans. Basically, there was a serious hierarchy type deal, which isn't quite as around... I don't know, I only worked with like one Greek god, so... And he's pretty chill. Aphrodite was pretty chill, too. She only stuck around for a little bit. She basically said she was more beautiful than any of Poseidon's daughters, which she's not only insulting a bunch of nymphs, she's also insulting the god of the sea. Not the greatest idea. So, Poseidon, not being happy about that, sent Cetus to terrorize basically the kingdom's coastline, and the kingdom in general. Cetus was... It's been explained as a whale, but given his descriptions were a giant monster with a mouthful of very, very long, sharp teeth, 2 forelimbs, and then a long serpentine tail. I mean, I kind of see how it might be a whale, but I'm not sure. But anyway, all in all, he was terrorizing the coastline. He was eating everybody and everything. So King Cephas went to a oracle of, I believe it said Amon. I think it was Amon. It started with an A, had a bunch of M's, and ended with an N. So I'm going to say Amon. And the oracle basically told him that the only way to appease both the monster and the deity was to basically sacrifice his daughter Andromeda. Chain her to the rocky cliff face, let the monster eat her, and then he'd go away. Well, so they went to do that, and then of course Perseus, the dude who ended up killing his own father. Okay, that doesn't narrow it down at all. We'll get to his myth probably at a different point. I'm sure it'll pop up. So anyway, Perseus is one of the Greek heroes, and whatever. He's sailing along, notices this beautiful lady chained to this rock, chained to this sea cliff, and there's this big-ass monster come along. So, I believe at the time he wasn't sailing, I believe he just killed Medusa, so he was actually flying with Hermes' winged sandals. Saw this thing on, I was like, what the fuck? So he stops, kills the monster, rescues the princess. I think they get married, something like that. It's Greek myth. This probably happened. They probably got married, or they at least banged, and then he was unfaithful or some shit. It's usually what happens. So anyway, so that was the end of Cetus. Well, not quite, because given the fact that he's a constellation, more than likely Poseidon was like, well, fine, but my monster will put you in the sky so everybody knows not to insult my daughters ever again. Which, I mean, good point. So, on here we have, because it does have it ruled by, and it's in the second decan of, come on camera, second decan of Aries, it has, cannot see. Okay. Blurry, maybe it'll clear up. So basically it has the symbol of Aries here, and then the symbol of the sun there. So what I do like about these is it'll give you the astrological symbols to go with. So that's the Celestial Tarot. Now as for the astrology based on the Tarot and Astrology book I have, oh, that pops. I don't have a card for this. Well, I do have a card, but you know. I don't know if I'll use this card with a traditional card. Or maybe the picture in this book. Alright, so basically, for the Golden Dawn Tarot, Golden Dawn designers this card. The way she speaks of it, I'm assuming, and I'll have to read the book, and I could be wrong. I tend to do that on occasion. Well, more often than occasion. this card is the first deacon of Aries, and it's ruled by Mars. So it's basically the card of Mars in Aries. Mars is the ruler of Aries, so when he's in Aries, like he is currently, even though he's retrograde, why would you do this to me? He is in his home base. He's comfortable. He's in charge. Aries is that go forth, go get, go do, get it done. Mars is the warrior. Mars is just, it's a day planet. It's a planet of the day. It's let's see. I'm gonna read one of her stuff. Mars is the planet of energy, action, aggression, and defense. It symbolizes protection and self-preservation, along with self-assertion, courage, daring, fearlessness, spontaneity, passion, adventure, and violence. It rules competition and combat. Probably to mostly read it most of the time. So, so that's Mars. Then Aries, of course. Wow. I have younger sisters in Aries, and I just feel like we can. That doesn't explain much. She's hard-headed, she's brash, she likes getting her way. She is not happy when she doesn't get her way. And it's her way or the highway, including letting her do her way. She doesn't care about your way. If she wants to do it her way, it's going to be done her way. That's Aries. We also do not get along because our sun signs happen to be... we both get along and we don't get along because our sun signs are in opposition. I'm a Libra. So that's fun. Especially when we were growing up. I haven't seen her in a few years right now, so we'll see. So, in this... Actually, I'm going to show this picture. If it'll show it. So you kind of see what I'm talking about. So you got the young guy sitting on the wall with the two torches. Man, my camera's not working for me today. Yeah, I'll fix it eventually. So it explains it as we first met Mars and Aries in the Tower and the Emperor cards. So let's see the thing. Mars and Aries. Mars is the ruler of the Tower. Aries is Mars card in the tarot is the Tower, and Aries card in the tarot is the Emperor. So this card is a combination of both the Emperor and the Tower together. And it is, the character in this card is a younger version of the Emperor, the major arcana card that corresponds to Aries. He's bold, fierce, resolute, and shameless. He's seated comfortably on a battlement, a low wall of the Tower. In the tarot, the Tower card corresponds to Mars, Aries' ruling planet. Like the Emperor, he holds a scale model of the universe in his hands, but in this case the symbol of his power and control is a fireball, true to his fiery Aries nature that he controls with the power of his mind. The first deacon of Aries, it depicts that energy in its initial formative stages. The young man in the card has taken a spark from the Ace of Wands and he's shaped and molded it into a ball of fire. So this card is also, the Golden Dawn designers of this card called it the Lord of Dominion because it depicts Mars in its dignity and domain, and dominion means governing authority and control of a territory. So this card, I actually kind of like the Good Tarot's depiction of it. It's a young figure seated on a giraffe, which if I knew my animals, I'd know what a giraffe meant. But basically they are near the edge of a cliff, kind of just looking over an entire dominion. The fire is contained. You can hear Z's riding on a very, not your usual riding animal. I'll put it that way because it's a giraffe. The fact seems to ride on a giraffe. To put a saddle on. I mean, I'm sure there are people out there to do it. I just don't know them any. So Z's sitting on a very unruly animal. I mean, that's hard to climb up to. I mean, he's got to get on there first off. He's got to get the saddle on there, get in on there. So that takes a lot of courage, bravery, daring, all the things that have to do with Mars and Aries. Mars and Aries, the courage to get up on this very tall, a gentle animal in comparison. I mean, probably not all the time, especially. I mean, they can kick a lion enough to completely kill it in one blow. So I mean, not the most gentle animals, but from what I've heard, they're pretty docile for a wild animal. But anyway, so this young person, has climbed up on this extremely powerful animal and is trusting it to carry here where Z wants to go, and is giving it the power of light. It's the one holding the lamp and the signal to light the way. It's the one holding the fire, which is controlled by the young person. So Z's got all the power here. Z's looking out over his dominion, all that. So yeah, it's a card of power and movement. It's establishing it. Something has already been established, but you've been given that energy to move on beyond what you have, what has been. So it's that first. It's the establishment of something new. It's like most people can't establish a business unless they're already well. Like you can't just. Oh, I'm poor. I got $5 in the bank. Let me go start a restaurant. You can't do that. You need to have enough money to have a loan. So this card is. I've got enough. I've got all of this, but it's not. But I'm kind of bored, and I want to do something new. I want to do something more interesting. So it's like use this foundation to move on to new things. Now, of course, because it is well established, that's where it comes into that choice making of we've got all this well established. Yeah, we want to do something new. We've got kind of that push, kind of that drive, kind of that want. We've got all this stuff. Do we really want to leave? Do we really want to go out that door, go outside, try something new, and we've got all of this? So that's what this card is usually coming up to speak of. So the last part of this that I have, since I keep going off on tangents about the card itself, which, I mean, technically, what I'm supposed to be doing. Moving on. The last one I have is, of course, from Halloween Terra. The monster for the Two of Wands. Not Halloween Terra. Halloween Terra is something else. That's the thing my friend has. It's the thing my friend has. A friend of mine has the Halloween Terra deck. It's not the Halloween Terra deck. This is the Spirit of Halloween Terra deck. So for this one, it is the Cyclops. And it's just got Aries in the corner down there. Symbol of Aries in the middle one. So Cyclops, and this one, they are in the. No, okay, we got you. So Cyclops, it's Greek, is Greek, which means either circle eye or round eye, which, I mean, makes sense. It's got, they're big giant who literally have only one eye in the middle of their forehead. The picture of a statue I saw, it's like, this is all closed up, and then they just got kind of that third eye right there. Most commonly nowadays, we draw them with a giant freaking eye, like right here. Like, just kind of covering where those two eyes would be. But anyway, so they've got one single eye. Hesiod, the first Greek writer to write of them, I'm assuming. I totally know this, because I looked it up on Wikipedia. Which, I mean, I wasn't going to go digging through whatever I could find on library databases. It'll be So according to Hesiod, they are the sons of Uranus and Gaia. So the original sky god and the original Earth Mother, who along with their basically they're sons of them. Who, because they were more than likely amongst all the other monsters that Uranus didn't like because they weren't pretty enough, stuffed back into Gaia and underneath. So because of that, she had basically the story goes is she wasn't happy about like most of her children being stuffed back into her because their dad didn't like them. So she talked to Titans, which are another bunch of her children, who were also Cronus's kids or Uranus's kids. Wow, totally know my Greek mythology. And she basically gave Kronos, the Titan, who was one of the pretty ones, went to his brother still in Gaia, had them forge him. I think it was the 100-armed ones. It was either 100 arms or the Cyclops. Maybe it was the Cyclops. I had them forge him a scythe, I believe it was. I mean, that makes sense. Father Time. Kronos is known as Time, and Father Time has a scythe. That might be death. I don't know. Either way, most of them have scythes. Had him form a scythe. I'm pretty sure it was a scythe. Had him forge him a scythe. And basically he cut off when Uranus kind of came down to get it on with Gaia again, even though she was very much unhappy with him. Kronos let down a piting and cut off his dick and balls. And from that, I think from his spilled semen from his testes, it was the Harpies that were born, or the Fates? No, the Furies. I think it was the Furies when they hit the ocean. By the way, I'm not censoring myself on this. I should probably have put that as a warning at some point beforehand. But anyway, so that basically by castrating him, Kronos dethroned him as the ruler of the world. So he's back up in the sky and just kind of stuck there, or maybe he got thrown into Tartarus, but we still have the sky, so. Okay, yeah, I know it's not literal. I'm joking. So Kronos became the ruler, but he didn't quite keep his promise to his mom and let all his siblings out of her. Yeah, I know what I said, but I get around to it in a few millennia or never. So Guy was not happy about that. Kronos had the prophecy of, one of his kids is going to overthrow him the same way he overthrew his dad. Well, that was no. We all know that story of him swallowing his children until finally his youngest, Rhea, had enough, gave him a stone instead of Zeus. Zeus got raised. Zeus tricked his dad, Kronos, into throwing up all his siblings, and then there was a giant-ass war. And during this war, Zeus he kept the promise that was the main reason Gaia wanted everything. I mean, she wasn't happy about a lot of stuff, but it was weird. Basically, he kept the original promise where he let the Cyclops and the hundred-handed ones and other monsters out of her, and they fought for him in the Titan Olympian War, the first one, or whatever it was. And so for Hesiod, the Cyclops, there were three, according to Hesiod. Argus, which means bright, Brontus, which is thunder, and Steropes, which is lightner. And they forged Zeus's thunderbolts. The hundred-handed ones also forged a bunch of weapons for them too, I believe. They kind of all got mixed in together, and it's like, wait, who did what? Did you both do what? I don't even remember. Greek mythology is ridiculous, but the fact that it's so well known is also a little irritating. But anyway, so for Hesiod, they forged Zeus's thunderbolts. Of course, there's the war, and then a lot of things happened. Whatever. So that was Hesiod's Cyclops. There are apparently three different types of Cyclops. So Hesiod's was the first. They're also the Homer Cyclops, which if we all remember the Odyssey, the Odysseus ran into the Cyclops. For Homer, the Cyclops were brutish peasant sheep herders, basically, or just herders in general. And he portrayed them as very stupid, very brutish, cannibalistic. Well, I don't know if it can even be. The thing, everybody says cannibalistic, but I don't know if it can actually be cannibalism because Cyclops and humans aren't the same thing, and they were eating humans. It's they're not the same species, so how can it be cannibalism? I don't understand that. I don't know why everybody calls it cannibalism just because humans were being eaten. I think that's the only thing. It's just humans are being eaten, so it's cannibalism. It's like, but they're not even humans that are eating them. It's other animals. It's other species. So I'm not gonna call it cannibalism. It makes no sense to me to call it cannibalism. It's because it's not. So anyway, basically in the Odyssey, um, Odysseus and his men got stuck by Polyphemus, who he eventually managed to blind, called him nobody, and there was a whole long thing. And honestly, Odysseus was a dick. It's just he was a dick. I don't like Odysseus. I mean, he was smart. I'll give him that. He had good points. He was a brilliant strategist. But he was a dick. Also, I really, really just find a major problem with a guy who sails around the world and the only reason he gets stuck sailing is because he pissed off a bunch of gods, which, okay, I can't remember it all off the top of my head, and it made sense for them to be punishing him in the first place, and he kind of deserved it, but also didn't deserve it? I don't remember. There was a lot of didn't deserve, and weird justice in Greek myths, so we'll just go with it as one of those. I think it was. But I just cannot get behind a guy who literally ends up every frickin' port stop getting with another woman. And what was it, like 50 years? No, not quite that long. 10 years? I don't know. However many years it was. Every stop he made, he banged another chick. And, I mean, hell, with Circe, he stayed there for an extra year because he was banging her. And his wife had to deal with, oh, he's dead? No, I don't believe he's dead. I'm gonna stay faithful to him and reject all my suitors in weird-ass ways. And it's like, that's a major double standard. Because I bet even if he told her he had banged all those women on his trip, which I'm sure she probably, which is the other thing, she probably expected him to have, and he probably just didn't feel like telling her because, well, why not? She's a woman. It's like so much sexist double standards. I hate it. It's so ridiculous. But anyway, that's my rant for that. So Homer considered Cyclops to be just uncivilized brutes, basically. Uncivilized carnivoristic brutes, basically, that just were stupid and whatever. Then the third depiction of Cyclops, which was kind of based more off of Hesiod's Cyclops, who were the workmen who created Zeus's thunderbolts. So in the 3rd century of BCE, the poet Callimachus, and later on Virgil in his Latin epic of Aeneid. Virgil is a Roman poet who I think a lot of people have problems with. I don't know all about it. I remember enough to know that he did not like the Greeks, and he went out of his way to depict a lot of Grecian deities as I think the myth of Arachne, where she is having that bat weaving contest with Athena, and she depicts the gods in the most blasphemous way she can, all their worst sides and whatnot. Virgil went out of his way to basically do the same thing with Grecian gods. So, anyway, so basically, but both of them, him and Callimachus, don't know how to say that, they made them into the workmen of Hephaestus. So that's kind of where this depiction is, and that's where a lot of, I think that's how a lot of people still see them, is they were craftsmen. They were workers. They lived under Mount Vesuvius, I believe it was. I think it was Vesuvius. Might not have been. I think it was Pompeii. Basically, they lived under the mountain, in volcanoes where Hephaestus lived, and they forged tools for gods and heroes and all kinds of stuff. So that's the other depiction of the Cyclops. So now, how to tie this into the Two of Wands mythos. So that's my last one for now. They're well-established craftsmen. They work in a forge. They know stuff. But they do work in a forge, and they are craftsmen. So even though they have things well-established, they're constantly creating new things. They have that fire, that spark, and it's all around them, and they're like, yeah, we built a really nice sword, but you know what can make it better? That kind of deal. It's one of those, I just had this awesome, it's like, I've been forging battle axes for the last 100 years, and yeah, I'm really, really good at it, but I really want to start trying to forge lances. I really want to get good at that. And I'm really good at battle axes, but I really want to try to do I'm going to try to do a lance. I'm going to start working on lances for the next 100 years. So that's where I could see that tying into the Two of Wands, which is awesome because it's hilarious. But okay, I think that's everything I got on Two of Wands, and somehow I managed to fill an hour. Most of it was probably trembling. Okay, so this episode seems a little bit flat for some weird reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I didn't do all my housekeeping stuff at the beginning. I decided to save it for the end. So anyway, I'm Ryan. I introduced myself earlier. Yeah, so next week will be another herb, stone, and rune episode. I'm gonna keep up with that for a little while. The week after that, we'll be moving on to the Magician in the Major Tarot. The Major Arcana. I totally know what I'm talking about. Okay, there's only 4 weeks this month, so that'll cover all of September, and then we head into October. Okay, yeah, alright. I thought for a second it was going to be weird on a week out of town on a week of October, and I am, but it's going to be after this, so we'll be fine. So yeah, that's going to cover it. So for this month of September, we're going to be doing the Two of Wands and the Magician, which kind of plays into each other. I'm not sure what I'll be doing next week for the herb, the crystal, and the rune stone and the runes. So I guess we'll all find out. I didn't announce it last month either. Maybe eventually one of these days I'll get all the stuff planned out ahead of time so I can actually tell you ahead of time. But until that time, we've had a nice full moon in Pisces this last week. Got a new moon in Virgo coming up, which will be interesting. I mean, this whole month's going to be interesting. This whole month already has been interesting, and we're only into the first week. I don't like it. Anyway, check me out on Facebook, Bags and Omens on Facebook. Check out my daily card draws for Intuitive Tarot Read on Facebook, Monday through Friday. If you want to read from me or anything, you online. If you want an online read from me, you can contact me through Bags and Omens. Or if you want an in-person reading, you happen to be in Sierra Vista, I read at Strega on Fry Boulevard on Sundays, 11 to 5. Another thing you can do, my Patreon page is up, just kind of support me as a creator and tarot reader. I have 4 tiers. It's patreon.com/bagsandOmens /bagsandOmens, I believe. Like everything, all of it typed out. On Facebook, it's an ampersand, Bags and Omens. So Patreon, I have 4 tiers. The first one, lowest one, is $3. It's just, supporting me as a creator because you think I'm cool. Which, I don't know if anybody thinks I'm cool, but I hope so. I'm trying to be cool. I'm not good at it. My second tier is a $7 one, which with that you get a personalized month ahead 3 card draw. I think it's a 3 card draw. Next tier is $10, and that one is you get a personalized weekly 2-card draw. We had 2-card draw. And then third tier, just for the hell of it, is $20, and that one you get a 5-card month ahead, personalized 5-card month ahead draw plus a weekly 2-card draw, if I'm remembering correctly. It's all on there on Patreon. I should probably look at it more often. If you've got any questions for me, or you just want to email, if you want to email me, it's bagsandOmens@gmail.com. All words, all spelled out, all one word, whatever, however you say it. But yeah, so check me out, Facebook, Patreon, email me if you got long ass stuff that you can't do over Messenger or in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, share me on YouTube. Like and subscribe, comment on YouTube, share me across media platforms. Yeah, I think that is everything. Yeah. Okay, so I will see you all next week. Have fun. Bye-bye.